Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. Today we are going over a giant amphibian discovery, as well as black bears, tigers, pygmy giraffes, and a new Triassic dinosaur discovery. We are streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. So let's dive back in time from Sci News. 275 million year old amphibian relative with twisted jaws rewrites early tetrapod diets. I will say that when it comes to the Permian period, which was a period in time that started around 305 million years ago and ended abruptly 252 million years ago before the start of the Triassic, um, there were a wide variety of different species of amphibian tetrapods. Now, technically, every species of reptile, bird, amphibian, mammal, dinosaur are tetrapods as well, but this is just a distinct group. Also referring to the temnospondyle lineage of amphibians did have a very odd arranged tooth structures, unlike many other types of carnivores, even herbivorous species. So, a new genus and species of archaic stem tetrapod from the Permian period has been identified from fossil jaw bones found in Brazil. Named Tanyaka M. Nicola, this strange amphibian relative had sideways facing teeth and a rasp like grinding surface, suggesting that some ancient four limbed vertebrates began experimenting with plant eating far earlier than paleontologists expected. I believe there was some discovery that occurred years back where they or certain paleontologists discovered that plant eating did occur much later after carnivorous species of amphibians had already evolved, which seems to be the case with many lineages of animals in general. The carnivores evolved first, and then it occurred with the herbivores would end up appearing much later.
To provide them a food source.
Yeah, more nutritious food source. Well, okay, if we're talking about the later species, or many usually plants do not provide the essential nutrients to produce the largest species of animals to exist, which are carnivores. So who do we have here? I'm really wondering who this could be, considering these five or four teeth on the front. That's interesting. I haven't seen that on any species of Permian amphibian or a temnospondyle. Many species were actually very aquatic and did not venture onto land. Tanyaka M. Nicola lived on the southern supercontinent of Gondwana. So this is the massive supercontinent that would include South America, Africa, and Australia. During the early Permian epoch, around 275 million years ago. So this is like directly at the end of a period in time in the Permian period where many large sail-backed synapsids or proto-mammals would have existed, as well as very unique species of amphibians, and well, they had like a boomerang-shaped head, as well as um, who else? Some of the first reptiles too. Tanyaka M. Nicola is from an ancient lineage that we didn't know survived to this time, and it's also just a really strange animal, said Dr. Jason Pardo, a paleontologist at the Field Museum. The jaw has this weird twist that drove us crazy trying to figure it out. We were scratching our heads over this for years, wondering if it was some kind of deformation. But at this point, we've got nine jaws from this animal, and they all have this twist, including the really, really well preserved ones. So it's not a deformation, it's just the way the animal was made. This is not very surprising when it comes to different species of temnospondyle amphibians, where several, usually skeletons, are preserved next to each other. It seems to be that in some cases there was a massive drought, and these not animals were not equipped. They were not equipped to deal with dry conditions, like without any water. So they would probably get buried by sediment when a massive flash flood came in. So let's look up a large species of temnospondyle amphibian, Mastodonnosaurus. So Maston, or Mastod no Onasaurus. So, Mastodontosaurus, however, existed later into the Triassic period, somewhere between 230 to 240 million years ago. But it was one of the largest species of temnospondyl amphibians to evolve. This animal reached over 20 feet or 6 meters and probably weighed somewhere around 1 to 1.5 tons, or pushing over um, probably 3,000 pounds in some instances, or a little over 1,400 kilograms. And this creature would likely prey on many species of mammals even today, or certain other reptiles, definitely people. People are mammals. But back in the Triassic period, it likely would have fed on
You
some of
just
the.
say people are mammals.
Yeah. I think because for how humans are situated, it's made out that people just aren't natural to begin with, or they're not part of the animal kingdom or nature in general. So I just thought I'd make everyone feel better.
I like this guy.
Oh yeah, this is a really good reconstruction of the this interesting model of a Mastodontosaurus. I think he looks a little thin from his core, but I mean it still looks really good. But it's unlikely, even when it comes to Mastodontosaurus. There were certain species of temnospondyl amphibian that it looks like had the ability to walk on land, at least be outside the water for a short amount of time. But Mastodontosaurus seems to be one of those specific amphibians that just did not have that ability. And we have also found several skeletons of Mastodontosaurus clumped together. This animal has been found in different areas of, I believe it was different parts of South Africa during the Triassic period. So, likely during this time, it was also feeding on just simply different species of pterosaurs, as well as maybe even earlier species of archosauromorphs. Wow. Oh, I believe it was in possibly. If I'm no, I'm thinking of gosh, what was it? Sometime in the 1840s, over in actually, did I mistake him for another creature? It might have been over in southern England that a surgeon and a curator of a certain museum found specimens of Mastodontosaurus. But this is, I mean, for the time, it's a decent reconstruction of the animal. It's definitely giving it a very wide core, which wasn't surprising for a lot of 1800s, even certain early 1900s depictions of these animals. And technically, the late 1900s or after the 1950s went through a bit of a like out of proportion sort of like dinosaur, ancient proto mammal, or even marine reptiles sort of um, drawing or depiction era, which I don't know why. In many cases, certain reconstructions from like the 1930s and 1940s were much more accurate or realistic compared to like the 1960s, 70s, even to the 80s to an extent. Um, but the overall environment seems okay. I
I'd
believe
have
those
some
supposed
happier
to be like
ones.
horsetail reeds. Oh yeah, these mastodonsaurs. It's very possible. I think it's just simply an overall look of the other 3D model. Um, oh yeah, Mastodontosaurus is known for having those distinct bottom canines, which is not. I mean, at least for a temnospondyl, those would be its canines. What was it with the? Oh, there are certain amphibian species, like even the boomerang diplocalus of Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, that it looks like could only see straight up in the air and did not have the ability to really see what's in front of them to an extent, or definitely what's below them, which is very odd. It would benefit them in certain hunting scenarios, especially when they're just trying to capture dragonflies or any species of semi aquatic insects that seem to be just above the surface of the water. Um, though Mastodontosaurus, likely looking at the structure of its eyes, probably had a somewhat decent peripheral vision, not so much binocular though. So it's seeing straight in front of it. So it would probably be a bit nervous if anything's approaching it from directly in front. But even right above itself, like let's say a certain Pterosaur might be flying over and it could snatch it. It would be a very small snack, though, considering pterosaurs at this time barely weigh a little over a kilogram or 2.2 pounds. So let's go back to the article. Oh, yeah. The other thing is that all these small teeth, which they're not like our grinding molars, they're very small, distinct conical shaped teeth, which would also likely help benefit it when it's hunting different species of fish.
It looks like it's just massive serrations. Like,
Yeah.
it's just serrated like a normal, tooth that's serrated, but that's all it looks like. It would just tear through anything.
Basically, these were definitely not chewers. It simply would grab their food. Though these were excellent teeth for amphibians of their time. You could say for many species of amphibians, even later on to the Jurassic and the early Cretaceous. The temnospondyls first evolved around about 350 million years ago during the beginning of the Carboniferous period. And unfortunately, they would go extinct somewhere around 125 million years ago during the first 20 million years of the Cretaceous. It is a big mystery as to why. Possibly major climatic changes as well as ecological changes that wiped them out. But at this point, so Tenyaka amnicola was a stem tetrapod, the oldest tetrapod lineage that eventually split into two groups. Ones that laid eggs outside of water and ones that laid their eggs in the water. Today's reptiles, birds, and mammals are all descendants of the branch that laid watertight eggs on land. It's also referring to the tetrapod or the lobe-finned fish, specifically Tiktaalik rossi, which has been found in Canada. I believe also on Baffin Island, which is existed in Canada back when it was a very warm swamp somewhere around 375 to 380 million years ago. Probably also fed on different species of fish as well, but it was only about maybe 4 feet in length. They're pushing 1.4 meters. So, modern amphibians like frogs and salamanders are the relatives of the tetrapods whose eggs needed to remain moist. But even after the tetrapod family split into these new groups, some of the stem tetrapods remained. Tanyaka amnicola was one of them. In the sense that Tanyaka amnicola was a remaining member of the stem tetrapod lineage, even after newer, more modern tetrapods evolved, Tanyaka amnicola is a little like a platypus. It was a living fossil in its time. Platypuses have been around for, um, actually, you know what? It's not hitting me at the moment. I think I was mistaking them for echidnas, but platypus are a bit more ancient. The lineage of mammals that echidnas and platypus belong to, um, they've been around since the Triassic, so for well over 220 million years. A very successful group. They are closely related to marsupials as well, but they're not true marsupials. There's a lot about Tenyoka amnicola that remains a mystery, namely its body. Oh, okay. So it is one of those species of amphibians that they just found the skull of. That also has happened a number of times, but I'm thinking of certain species of amphibians coming from the southern United States or Texas, Oklahoma, like Diplocaulus, Eriops, another well-renowned, well, not necessarily well-renowned species, but they're often found in similar um, fossil formations or deposits. They're for some reason during the early Permian period, I'd say somewhere around 275 to 280 million years ago, amphibians were one of the dominant animals on the landscapes. Technically, the proto mammals were the top predators, like Dimetrodon. Let's see. So we found these jaws in isolation, and they're really weird and they're very distinctive, said Dr. Ken Angel, a curator of paleomammalogy at the Field Museum. But until we find one of those jaws attached to a skull or other bones that are definitely associated with the jaw, or definitively, we can't say for sure that the other bones we find near it belong to Tenyaka amnicola. Yeah, that's always a possibility. You can have it where there are certain other skeletons in the area. that might resemble like an or that specific amphibian species. This can occur with dinosaurs, but you found the skull of a completely different species. That would be like fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. I guess a bit more fortunate because it's would be a simply a new species of amphibian. But until we find but Tanyaka and Nicola's jawbone alone was enough to show the researchers what an unusual animal it was. It is very interesting how the different species of temnospondyls created these distinct jaw structures. Run your tongue over the teeth on your lower jaw. Feel how the tops of your teeth are facing up towards the roof of your mouth. Yeah, it makes you wonder if Temnioka or Tenyaka. I think I had to tapioca in there. Is a bit more closely related to proto-mammals or mammals than other species of temnospondyls. Unfortunately, when it came to certain lineages of amphibians, such as Eriops, which existed over in Texas and Oklahoma, their lineage would end around 272 million years ago during the mid Permian period. There's a big mystery as to why. This would also occur to different proto mammals like Dimetrodon, Edaphosaurus at around this time, too. The Sphenocodontidae lineage of proto mammals, which is what Dimetrodon belongs to. Oh, let's bring up a distant relative, however, the Edaphosaurus. Edaphosaurus. It looks similar to a Dimetrodon, but is actually a very distant relative.
I thought it was gonna be a Dimetrodon when I was looking at this.
There are actually a number of different species of synapsids from the Permian period that had very similar body structures to Dimetrodon, but they were very distinct species. Not only that, they belonged to different families of synapsids as well. Technically, all mammals are synapsids. However, unlike Dimetrodon, Edaphosaurus is an herbivore. It has very, you could say, leaf shaped teeth to an extent, which would be much sharper compared to the teeth of one of its contemporaries, the Dimetrodon, which is specifically a carnivore, but its teeth are also not as sharp.
I think he's angry because he wants some meat.
Oh, yeah, this is from the 2002 documentary, Walking with Monsters. Um, Which, I mean, it's really good. It belongs to the same series as, Walking with Beasts and Walking with Dinosaurs as well. And even for today, this Edaphosaurus is pretty good. In fact, many of the creatures in the show are pretty much up to date. Oh, yeah, this is a really good reconstruction. What is he? Oh, I think he might be going after an Eriops or another species of amphibian. We do have evidence from a wide range of amphibians over in the um, different Permian swamp deposits in the United States of the skulls of these different amphibians being ripped apart by specifically Dimetrodon. Or Dimetrodon seems to be the only species of carnivore to be able to do this.
But that's supposed to be Dimetrodon, and then that's supposed to be
That is a Dilophosaurus. It's very likely that Dimetrodon might have hunted, or would have hunted younger Dilophosaurus individuals. The problem is when it comes to an adult, an Dilophosaurus could reach over 500 pounds or a little over 230 kilograms. Dimetrodon itself was pushing somewhere around six to 700 pounds when it came to its largest size, or a little over 300 kilograms, and also reaching a length of about 15 feet or 4.6 meters. A Dilophosaurus was close to the same length, somewhere around 15 to 16 feet or 4.7 meters. I am wondering, it could be a Diplocaulus, which was one of the most common species of amphibian to live in these distinct environments. And this was also somewhere around 275 million years ago during the Permian over in the southern United States. Edaphosaurus, however, belonged to the Edaphosauridae lineage of synapsids, whereas Dimetrodon is a member of the Sphenocodontidae lineage and along or coexisting with a wide range of different temnospondyl amphibians. There were no dinosaurs or pterosaurs at this time, and marine reptiles had not evolved yet either. Technically, the Archosaur lineage in general, which they and or being the dinosaurs and the pterosaurs and the birds, as well as crocodilomorphs, would not have evolved yet. The marine reptiles come from a completely different lineage of um, reptiles, the Sauropteguans.
Okay, this guy looks closer to a dog.
Oh yeah, you could say Dilophosaurus has that sort of I don't know, maybe a bulldog to an extent, sort of a face. Let's see. Now they definitely put a lot more emphasis on the sale of this animal. It used to be theorized that, I mean, it still is to an extent, that the sails or the elongated vertebrae or back vertebrae of Edaphosaurus dimetrodon might have been used to help either warm or cool themselves down. But it looks like with the climate back in Texas, Oklahoma, in fact, when it comes to Dimetrodon, another species has been discovered over in Germany. But at this time, much of the Earth was rather mild or somewhat warm in temperature. So they might have not needed that mechanism. There also really doesn't seem to be any blood vessels occurring within the Dimetrodon or the Edaphosaurus's um, vertebrae, or at least the elongated vertebrae. So likely these were just simply used to ward off other predators as well as maybe intimidate other rivals during the mating season and press mates too. I guess another thing you could say is they had relatively short limbs compared to their body size, both the forelimbs and the hind limbs, despite being around the same length compared to um, like just each limb in general. They were likely not really capable of fast running. Dimetrodon probably a bit more so. Dimetrodon, I would say, has a much more mammalian-like skull structure compared to a Dilophosaurus. And a Dilophosaurus, I guess also Dimetrodon is a bit more closely related to mammals in general, especially members of the Sphenicodontidae lineage. So the teeth would have been rasping against each other in a way that's going to create a relatively unique way of feeding. In general, teeth that are able to grind against each other are used for crushing up plant material. Based on its teeth, we think that Tenyaka amnicola was an herbivore and that it ate plants at least some of the time. Interesting. So this is wow, despite its tooth structure on the picture, it's an herbivore. That's a bit shocking, said Dr. Juan Carlos Cisneros, a researcher at the Federal University of Piauí. It's surprising that a stem tetrapod like Tenyaka amnicola would have evolved to eat plants, since most of its fellow stem tetrapods only ate meat. Yeah, this is rare among the different species of temnospondyls. It's usually carnivores that you're thinking of, and all of a sudden, an herbivore with this type of a tooth structure evolves. This is quite interesting, especially for the Permian period. Okay, let's head forward in time to, I'm guessing, another part of the world. So from the Platte Valley News Channel, Nebraska.com, black bear is safely captured after wandering into East Cheney neighborhood. A black bear caused an early morning surprise in Cheney after wandering into an east side neighborhood before being safely captured inside a barn. No injuries were reported, and wildlife officials now have the bear in their care. We don't know where it is. Well, there he is. Wow, it's a cub. Or it's maybe a 2.5 or a 3-year-old. He's pretty small.
That's someone's foot. It's pretty small.
Yeah, it's probably 3-year-old. Cheney, though, like, Cheney, Wyoming. Okay, so this is interesting because Cheney, Wyoming, that the range of southern Wyoming, southern Wyoming, where this bear was captured, is not preferable bear habitat. I'm guessing it was a black bear that came in from the Medicine Bow Route National Forest that constitutes part of north central Colorado, as well as a sliver of south central Wyoming. But Cheney is not exactly right next to the region. So it is interesting that it decided to head further north and, I guess, raid some garbage. I'm not sure what else. I mean, it could maybe raid people's cookies or, um, burgers in their backyard. But that is a bit shocking. It's not preferable habitat. A black bear spotted roaming near East Cheney early Tuesday was safely captured after taking refuge inside a barn, according to the Cheney Police Department. Police initially alerted residents after the bear was seen near Whitney Road and the 6,000 block of East Pershing Boulevard. But they're probably not going to raid chocolate chip cookies because chocolate is horrible for bears. He's probably going after just specifically oatmeal cookies. So officers worked alongside the Wyoming Game and Fish Department to locate and safely contain the animal. So yeah, it's just adjacent to, well, somewhat the Rocky Mountains of Colorado and south central Wyoming. Yellowstone, the greater Yellowstone ecosystem or Yellowstone National Park is not adjacent to this region. These areas are far off in the western part of the state as opposed to G&E. Even the Black Hills of Wyoming are just a sliver of the western border of the state, adjacent to South Dakota. Authorities later announced the bear had been found inside a barn in the 6,000 block of East Pershing and was successfully captured without injury to nearby residents or the animal. The bear is now in the care of wildlife officials. Police urged residents not to approach the animal during the incident and asked anyone who spotted the bear to contact dispatch immediately. The department thanked responding agencies and community members who assisted during the unusual wildlife call. And that's it. Okay. Well, I'm glad that this black bear is okay, and he'll be, I guess, relocated to probably the Medicine Bout Route National Forest. He might have been searching for surplus territory. There's around 18 to 20,000 black bears over in western Colorado. Very few, if any, over in the eastern part of the states, really, because it's not preferable black bear habitat either. It would have been a bit more preferable for brown bears or grizzly bears back in the 1700s, considering they're more of at least the North American inland subspecies of grizzly bear. Prairie can be more appealing to them as opposed to black bears. They're more of a forest animal. Um, yeah, I wouldn't send him to like the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. It's too full with other animals. So let's head to another part of the world, staying in the Cenozoic era. It's, I guess, a bad paleo joke, but we're still in the Holocene epoch. So, stratnewsglobal.com. Putin gifts tigers to Kazakhstan ahead of nuclear deal talks. That's funny.
It really is.
Vladimir Putin has sent 4 Amur tigers to Kazakhstan ahead of a visit expected to deliver major nuclear energy and oil transit agreements between the two allies. Here's the thing. Russia still has a very low Amur tiger population. I'm not sure about their genetic variety. Um, but at this point, I believe there's only around 6 to 7, or has it pushed up to maybe 800 these days? Around 800 Amur tigers. Also, recently over in eastern Russia, adjacent to certain areas of northeastern China, there have been raids from tigers over on different villages. Um, I guess killing their livestock, and I think even their dogs too, considering there has been supposedly a virus or a disease taking out the native wild boar populations within the region. I'm not sure what the impact has been on deer. How common are like the sika, the red deer, even roe deer within the region? So, yeah, but instead we're just going to take 4 and send them to Kazakhstan. I'm guessing this has occurred after tigers from the Netherlands, 2 tigers, and I believe the United States were sent to Kazakhstan as part of a rewilding project in a large national park. And Kazakhstan is just south of south central Russia. So Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent 4 Amur tigers to Kazakhstan. I think I said that. According to the Kremlin, the tigers, including 2 cubs captured in Russia's far eastern Khabarovsk region, have already been flown to Kazakhstan and will soon be released into the wild as part of efforts to restore the country's tiger population. Wait a second. So 2 cubs apparently were just captured. I mean, I was thinking maybe they were part of a breeding facility. They were just being rehabilitated, but and hopefully they were already grown up. Um, like pushing two to 3 years of age at least. 3 years would be more preferable because usually 2 years are still with their mother. Tiger siblings will also stay in close contact with each other for the first 1 to 2 years being on their own. The daughter will be closer to the mother, but the males will stay with each other for a bit longer, just further off in another territory. Where was I getting at with this? Yeah, I just find it odd that this is not supposedly coming from like a rehabilitation center. So Kazakhstan views the Amur tiger as a close relative of the extinct Caspian tiger.
Wait, so basically they kidnapped 2 cubs and threw them in another place.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Um, yeah, very Russian. The Russian gesture adds to previous tiger transfers from the Netherlands and highlights Moscow's use of symbolic wildlife diplomacy in international relations. Putin has previously used animals in diplomacy, including sending horses to North Korea in recent years.
What?
That's interesting. I think they eat them there. During his visit, Putin is also expected to oversee the signing of agreements related to the construction of a nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan approves plans for nuclear power plants in a 2024 referendum and aims to develop 2.4 gigawatts of nuclear power
Why does
capacity
this sound
by
like it's an advertisement?
yeah 2035. Okay, well, where are the tigers? What? That's it?
Yeah, it was an advertisement for Putin. It wasn't about the tigers.
Okay,
'Cause where are the
I'll
pictures of the tigers?
yeah. Okay, let's head to staying in the Cenozoic era. Let's head to another part of the world. From TanzaniaTimes.net. Pygmy giraffes discovered for the first time in Africa. Uganda and Namibia species baffle scientists. Well, this sounds like we sort of have um, a Pliocene or even Miocene species of giraffe. So, back in like somewhere between 8 million years, actually, let me rephrase that 3 million years ago to about 20 million years ago, you had giraffes that had much shorter necks compared to their body size, much like the okapi over in the Democratic Republic of the Congo over in Africa, as well as Uganda. But this is quite strange because they have not been around for over 2 million years. So the Ice Age, they were pretty much gone. Well, okay, sparing the Okapi, since it was around during the Ice Age as well. Even certain species of modern day giraffes. I believe this is just a female and her calf. Okay, so, well, this shorter variation of the skyscraping wildlife species has just emerged in Africa. Researchers from the Giraffe Conservation Foundation have recently published a paper in BMC Research Notes describing the emergence of two miniature dwarf giraffes in separate populations. I am a bit concerned considering there are different populations of giraffes in certain parts of probably southern sub Saharan Africa. So, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique that the problem with that fenced off area, depending on how large it is, can't be too large, I would assume, is that this can cause dwarfism in later generations. It doesn't take very long either. So, yeah, is that what caused this, or is it one of those um, surviving species? Maybe sounds a bit odd. The pygmy giraffes have been located in both Namibia and Uganda. Okay, well, that is a bit. It's almost not surprising with Uganda because the Okapi is it just an Okapi and he happened to just move to a certain part of the country. Now, Namibia is odd. The Giraffe Conservation Foundation, considering it's home to the southern giraffe, which reaches a height of 17 to 18 feet, or around 5 meters. The Giraffe Conservation Foundation study represents the first known accounts of gnome giraffes in the scientific literature. Okay,
Yeah.
these giraffes protect people. Because they're elves.
They sit in the yard and right.
Yeah. Leave them oatmeal with butter. So for the during
Oh,
Christmas
no.
time, the first appearance of the dwarf giraffes was documented in the Murchison Falls National Park of Uganda. Later, other short giraffes were found on a private farm in central Namibia. Other short giraffes. Um, okay, the private farm, it sounds like they've got a genetic issue. But in the national park in Uganda, I'm wondering, and I would like to see pictures of those specific giraffes. Both discoveries occurred during photographic surveys routinely conducted by GCF to determine numbers, population dynamics, and distribution of giraffes throughout Africa. Using digital photogrammetry techniques, the researchers measured limb dimensions of the two dwarf giraffe and compared them to other giraffes in the populations.
There better be pictures in this.
Yeah, they found out that this miniature giraffe had shorter legs. More specifically, they had shorter radius and metacarpal bones compared to other giraffes of similar age. I'm assuming this is referring to like the shin and the four leg bones, as well as their ankle bones, since giraffes walk on their toes. And they are more closely related to camels. So, instances of wild animals with these types of skeletal dysplasia are extraordinarily rare, said lead research author Dr. Michael Brown. Yeah, it sounds like these are just um, they have issues.
Oh, here we go.
That's the dwarf giraffe.
Yep.
It's not just a calf. I mean, it does have a distinct sort of pattern, and it can. I mean, it can occur anyway. Hmm.
So are they actually standing next to each other? Did they Photoshop it in?
Uh,
I don't.
it could be.
Hold on. Wait. No, won't let me do it.
So it's another interesting wrinkle in the unique story of giraffes in these diverse ecosystems. The study
Hold on.
notes,
Wait. Look how big it is right here.
yeah, I guess you could say it looks a little more pronounced in its chest area.
Even back here.
Yeah, maybe more, and it looks a little bit more mature and overall, um, like morphology, just structure when it comes to the neck and like the cervical vertebrae area and the skull structure. Yeah, I would say this does not look like a giraffe fawn or giraffe calf
It
because
looks
giraffe calf,
proud.
huh?
It looks proud.
Oh, that too. Almost like there aren't any predators in the area. The study notes that the giraffe population in Uganda experienced a significant bottleneck in the late 1980s due to civil unrest and associated bushmeat poaching. However, it is unlikely and unclear if this particular dwarf giraffe is related to a decrease in genetic diversity. I'm also guessing that the picture is coming from Namibia, but that is a very lush area of Namibia. Um, Scientists named the pygmy giraffe discovered in Uganda as Gimli in honor of the character from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Guessing he's a dwarf. It is unknown what effect, if any, these stunted conditions might have on giraffe survival or reproduction, but fortunately, according to researchers, the population is rebounding. I think it's referring to the overall giraffe population. It still varies with different subspecies of giraffes. Oh, wait a second. There are 5 different species of giraffes. In Namibia, researchers labeled the dwarf giraffe Nigel. Nigel, the pygmy giraffe, was born in 2014. The giraffe's unique body shape was first observed when he was about 4 years old, an age when male giraffes are close to maturity and full grown. Interesting. So let's see. The GCF researchers said they will continue to monitor these 2 male giraffes to see if any observable variances in their behavior and social status occur. While the Namibian farmer had spotted Nigel regularly over the years, it was only after the scientist's observations when he realized that Nigel was not a juvenile but a fully grown male giraffe, explained Emma Wells. It is mainly in comparison to other giraffes that his difference in stature becomes obvious. I really wonder how he um, communicates or associates with other giraffes. Do they just not really care for him? So they just let him roam with them. They don't see him as competition in almost any sort of scenario. Maybe even defend him, possibly, if there are certain hyenas or lions in the area. But wow, that is very interesting. but it wouldn't be an uncommon sight 4 million years ago over in Africa or even further back. However, they would be much stockier, and the neck structure would probably be close to, say, 60 to 70% wider. I don't know. That might be a slight exaggeration, but they were very stocky. Okay, now this is very fascinating to hear. But let's head back in time to the Mesozoic era, sometime during the dinosaurs. From Sci News, small Triassic dinosaur from Brazil sheds new light on sauropodomorph growth stages strategies. So, paleontologists have unearthed fossilized bones of one of the smallest sauropodomorph dinosaurs from the late Triassic
Oh,
of.
how does it sort of both grow strategies? I don't understand why you'd use the term strategies there.
I guess it's giving the body more, um, like of a mind of its own sort of description, which I mean, it kind of does. Paleontologists have unearthed fossilized bones of one of the smallest sauropomorph dinosaurs from the late Triassic of southern Brazil, offering fresh insights into early dinosaur development and physiology. So, it is not uncommon to find different species of prosauropods or sauropodomorphs from Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Chile. I'm considering they are quite common in certain fossil formations, as well as certain species of early theropod dinosaurs. The ancestors to the stegosaurs and chylosaurs, the ceratopsians, had not evolved yet. They really won't appear until the very beginning of the Jurassic, around 200 million years ago. But the prosauropods first started evolving somewhere between 230 and 235 million years ago. And they are members of the Saurischian lineage of dinosaurs, which would include the theropods as well. So Massospondylus carinatus. So this is a very it's one of the more renowned species of sauropods, prosauropods from South Africa. So, in fact, let's bring up another Massospondylus, and it is an herbivore as well. So Massospondylus. So Massospondylus was found over in South Africa, possibly certain parts of Europe, back in 1854 by paleontologist Richard Owen, which is also the same paleontologist that invented the word dinosaur. So, yeah, these are not bad reconstructions of Massospondylus. It is a medium-sized species of prosauropod, probably reaching somewhere around 15 feet in length or pushing around 4.8 meters, and likely weighed somewhere around 5 to 700 pounds or pushing over 300 kilograms. And it was probably feeding on different species of ferns, conifers, or even ginkgos at the time. Flowers had not evolved yet. Flowers will not evolve until the early Cretaceous, around 140 million years ago. Oh, yeah, this is a really good reconstruction. Whether or not Massospondylus could have supported its weight, any of its weight, on its forelimbs, I think it's a bit of a debate. It definitely was capable of being bipedal. So, um, likely maybe being able to have a bit of a fast walk sort of a pace, but possibly not necessarily running. Though it did coexist with different species of upcoming larger theropods at the time, especially members of Neotheropoda, as well as members of the Coelophysidae lineage of carnivores. But Plateosaurus would also, not Plateosaurus, however, this is a close relative of the Plateosaurus, would give rise to later different species of sauropods. Okay, let's head back to the article. Let's see. So, Dr. Luciano Artemio Leal from the Universidad Estadual do Sudoeste da Bahia and colleagues collected the new dinosaur material from the Cerro da Alamao, no, Alamao, Moa outcrop in southern Brazil. The Cerro de Alamoa outcrop is a significant geologic and faunistic. So, referring to the amount of dinosaurs and other animals that come from here. When it says faunistic or fauna, paleobiota, record of the Santa Maria supersequence in the central portion of the state of Rio Grande do Sul. This is adjacent to Argentina, northeastern Argentina. So the material dates to the Carnian age of the late Triassic epoch between 237 and 227 million years ago. This is mid Triassic. This is not late Triassic. 227 million years ago can be, you could say, can technically be referred to as late Triassic, but not 237 million years ago. This is a 237 million years ago is about the time that dinosaurs first evolved. Very small, usually reaching somewhere between 2 to 4 feet in length, or between like zero point 0.8 and 1.3 meters. It is composed of tiny bones, all smaller than 5.7 meters, 2.2 inches in length, including a partial humerus, a metatarsal. So we have a thigh bone and an ankle bone, an ungual phalanx, a neural arc, and a vertebral centrum. Well, I mean, by what it's saying by the tiny bones, I guess we haven't found too much of the animal. Phylogenetic and anatomical analyses conducted by the team places the specimen firmly within the basal sauropodomorph clade. The specimen is an important juvenile dinosaur, the paleontologist said. Yeah, the other major branch of dinosaurs, which really won't evolve and start evolving until the very end of the Jurassic, around 202 million years ago, is Ornithischiae. So it's just the sauropods or prosauropods. Sauropods won't evolve until somewhere around 170 million years ago. Well, 180 million years ago. It's just the prosauropods and theropods at this point. So the specimen is an important juvenile dinosaur. Well, that's good to hear too. I wonder. Oh, okay. So it's just a. Um, I'm guessing it's a. No, we don't know what it is. A combined analysis of its morphology, osteohistology, and phylogeny positions it as a basal sauropodomorph from the Brazilian Triassic period. Unlike later sauropodomorphs that achieved enormous body sizes, this early form appears to have had a much smaller stature while still in development. Huh. Yeah, I guess that is quite interesting. Okay, let's look up a carnivore from around this time. So Siamosaurus, Siamosaurus. Now, did a carnivore pop up? Sort of looking like Dilophosaurus?
Mm, no.
Oh, whoops. I brought up a plesiosaur, I think. Okay, uh, what was that? Maybe that was it. Okay, let's do Zupasaurus. Zupayos. Okay, does he look closer or okay, that's him. All right. Nothing against plesiosaurs, but we'll come back to him later on. Okay, so Zupasaurus is a member of the Neotheropoda lineage of theropod dinosaurs. It is more closely related to a bit more renowned species of early Jurassic theropods, such as Dilophosaurus and even the later megalosaur species, like the Afrovenator, or even Wilsvenator and Megalosaurus. These are some older depictions of the Zupasaurus, and I believe this animal comes from Argentina around 200 million years ago. So during the beginning of the Jurassic. Um,
Is that a chicken?
yeah, that type of sac reconstruction towards the bottom of their jaw as well as the upper neck has been reconstructed in a wide variety of different small to medium-sized species of theropod dinosaurs. It has been quite pushed in certain different species of Neotheropoda. Oviraptors as well. That's been around for a while. or I mean, decades. Even different members of the Dromaeosaur lineage of dinosaurs or the raptors. To an extent, the ceratopsians or the horned dinosaurs later on that will evolve during the late Jurassic and not really shown in different species of pachycephalosaurs, which is interesting. Seems to be that they really just didn't have the ability to at all form one based on their overall morphology. But Zupesaurus reached somewhere around 12 to 18 feet in length, or pushing around 5.5 meters, and probably weighed somewhere around 12 to 1,500 pounds, or a little over 500 kilograms. So, this animal is likely feeding on different species of prosauropods like Massospondylus, Thecodontosaurus, and which was a probably about a 10-foot or 3-meter long prosauropod that lived in the Triassic, and also seems to be mostly quadrupedal as well, unlike many species of certain larger prosauropods. So, let's see. This pattern indicates that even at small body sizes, early sauropodomorphs may have adopted flexible growth strategies, a finding that could help explain the later emergence of gigantism in this group. The observed features suggest an individual still in development, having already undergone its first growth arrest and being midway through its second cycle. The analyses suggest ontogenetic features of a juvenile sauropodomorph with a single growth arrest. Our results provide evidence for novel growth strategies during the early evolution of this group, leading to the emergence of small bodied dinosaurs in the Triassic. Um, well, I guess you could say this was a bit earlier on, like probably one of the first species of prosauropods to exist. It's not a Massospondylus like in the picture. Massospondylus won't evolve until the early Jurassic, I think around 198 million years ago. But whatever this creature is, it seems to be showing some of the earliest types of growth sequences that we see in dinosaurs overall. But I would assume it's still going to be different from different species of theropod dinosaurs in general. Now, they're saying it's a sauropodomorph, so it's not just some saurischian, which is what the sauropods and theropods belong to in the dinosaur group. Um, it seems to be some species of prosauropod, which is what they referred to the long necks as in the Triassic period, as well as the sauropodomorphs, even though the sauropodomorph in general refers to every species of prosauropod or sauropod to exist. So it's interesting. I'm definitely going to have to go after or take a look into what's going on with these different growth arrests. Um, thanks for joining. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. We are streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. Happy International, who was it first? Temnospondyle Day. And remember that nothing's better than all animals all the time.